Tommy, and you were on the lifeboat. This Deadhead, good to see you. Boy, tough day yesterday, Deadhead. I'm still reeling from the loss of Bob Weir, the lead singer of the Grateful Dead, passed away yesterday, and was just a kick right in the sternum. I'm not going to lie to you. As a guy that spent a little bit of time with that band growing up, that one hurt. So this is deja vu all over again in a lot of ways. I remember the first time I came on and I did a show about Diddy. It was a long time ago. It was way before the lawsuits and all of the other fun stuff happened. And I just said, I have a really deep feeling that this is going to end up blowing up massively. It certainly wasn't my wheelhouse. I don't care much for the genre of music, but from the true crime angle, it was kind of fascinating. Will Smith, in my eyes, and this is my opinion, is Diddy 2.0. Hey, Debbie, love and life. Good to see you. Jeannie Hansen, on time. Good to see you. Year ago today, your hubby died. I'm sorry, Deadhead. Thoughts and prayers. That sucks. Johnny Scoville is here. That would be the Johnny Scoville, just in case there could be others. Sandy Wendy, good to see you. Andrew, what's happening? And Brock Bandy, always a pleasure to have you here, Brock Bandy. You're in the right part of town. All right, people. So here's the deal with the Will Smith stuff. I've done shows on Will Smith in the past. I did shows, though, hey, Cricket, in the while I was talking about the Diddy situation. And almost everything kind of, Deadhead, what a beautiful thing to say. I appreciate that. I really do. Well, it's certainly, we don't do this for the big bucks. I do this because I really love connecting with people, and these are stories that all of us kind of hold near and dear to our heart. Avac, good to see you. This one's going to be another one, people. This is, I think Hollywood's on trial, and I think the trial doesn't take place in a courtroom. If you're not disgusted with what Hollywood has become, and maybe it's always been that way, maybe that's just now social media is giving us an opportunity to get a really different kind of peek inside this. So Will Smith, back in I think 2023 on the on Tasha's program, she had on Brother Bilal. That would be Bilal Salam. This guy allegedly worked with Will Smith for over 3 decades, and for a guy that they say allegedly works for him, boy, he seems to have an awful lot of proof to back that up. However, he went on that show and he talked about how he walked into a dressing room and he saw Will Smith bent over a couch. Behind him was a cat by the name of Dwayne Martin, who was, well, let's just say, not doing his taxes. And Brother Bilal told the story rather graphically on the Toshgate program. And this went viral in a way that people use the word viral all the time, and it doesn't really mean what it's supposed to mean. That bad boy went viral. And they came out and denied it within about 9 hours. It was a pretty quick denial, especially from people that have never seemed to deny anything in the past. They just sort of stay above the fray and let people say whatever they want. And I'll be honest, I don't think that that's such a bad policy. After being a content creator for a hot minute, the more you talk about what other people say about you, the more other people talk about it. And you're better off to just not give bottom feeders the time of day. And maybe back then, I believed Brother Bilal from Jump Street because I don't understand the play if you're lying. Whitby Island Girl, good to see you. Hey, Lisa Trimble. Pardon me, I'm glad you're here. This is one of those stories, though, that this is different, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of people right now that are coming out and saying that Brother Bilal is full of crap. He has a book coming out in about a week, and he talks about his life with Will and Jada Pinkett, and it's called I Am Whistleblower. Wow. That may be a subtitle, but that's what he's calling the book. My years with Will and Jada, and I Am Whistleblower. There are a lot of stories that have come out about Will Smith for a long time. Jaguar Wright, way back in the day, talked about that there were men running away from the mentorship of Will Smith. This is what Jaguar Wright alleged years before anyone else did. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. I will call people out if I think that what they're saying is BS. And if what I think they're saying is true, I don't have a problem going back to somebody that BS'd, especially in an industry where BS is kind of the coin of the realm, sadly. Wendy R., good to see you. But she talked about it. And when she told the story, she said people literally ran out of their house screaming. And then she said, Bashir Gray, who had a role on a television show called, someone will give it to me in a second, Empire. Terry McMullen, good to see you. Ruth Anna, what's happening? And apparently he went off the rails, started acting really screwed up, and they sent Brother Bilal out to kind of rein him in. This is Bilal's story. And he said at the time that Bashir Gray said he had been, what are we, 5 minutes in? He had been raped by Will Smith. This is what is alleged by Brother Bilal. And it's coming out in his book that we will be seeing in about a week. Then he also went on to say that, this is Bashir Gray talking to Brother Bilal, who's out there working as a manager for him. And he says, you know what they did to me. And he talks about first Will Smith, and then he talks about his manager, and he talks about Diddy, and that he had to give some mouth hugs to those two and was raped by Will Smith. But here's the deal. There was a non-disclosure or an NDA of some kind that had to come out of this in order to shut everybody up. And Brother Bilal, according to his book that is coming out, he says that he wanted Bashir Gray to not be telling people that he was aware of it, because he wasn't. He didn't find out about it allegedly until that day. And they want to shut up Bashir Gray. Everybody wants to shut up everybody. Problem with those kind of things are you got to put stuff down on paper. This is a decent point, isn't it? Queen Keish, I agree with you. Bilal is not a true friend to tell secrets after being his friend for 40 years. I agree with you. But I think when the book comes out, you're going to see that this kind of went in both directions. He went to a birthday party, right? This is allegedly one of the big blow-ups here. He went to a birthday party of Will Smith where Jada said, you're going to sign a non-disclosure or you're not going to be at the party, which seems maybe a little over the top for a birthday party, but who cares? Who am I to judge, right? So Bilal doesn't want to sign it. And allegedly at that time, he got threatened. She said, we'll make you disappear. You'll catch a bullet. He got 6, large people allegedly from her entourage to come up and threaten him. And but here's where this gets interesting. And I agree with you. I think people should not do this. I really don't. I don't think people should do this. However, if what you're seeing happening is reprehensible, and let's say you catch 3 or 4 events over the course of the time that you've been associated with this cat, and most of those events are him being intimate with another man. You go, who cares? That's his business. We're friends. I'm not outing him. And then you find out that he's sexually assaulting young boys and allegedly passing them off to be sexually assaulted by Charlie Mack or by Diddy or by anyone else. And there's going to be some stuff about Tyrese in there as well. Allegedly in the book, there's going to be some stuff about him doing things with Will Smith and his wife. I have always loved every movie Will Smith has been in. Geez, they are all scumbags. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. We have to get good at this. I can watch Men in Black today because I'm watching Agent J. He is a artist. If an artist paints a beautiful picture and becomes a scumbag, or you find out that Leonardo da Vinci was into something you weren't into, who cares? I mean, and I know that this is hard because when you see someone moving on screen, it makes you think of the human being. Ed Rooney, right? The principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off ended up with a really disgusting charge. Nevertheless, I absolutely love it. An NDA isn't void if a crime is committed, correct? NDAs normally stop where a crime has been committed. So, but here's where this gets wildly interesting to me. After she threatened him and all of that, he came out and started talking about it. And he said, you know what? The response from Jada Pinkett Smith was, he's about to get sued. And she said it on a live. And sometimes, man, when you're working without a net, you might say something that later on you regret. But she said, he's getting ready to get sued, right, for the stuff that he said. This is defamation. Do you know what the defense in court for defamation is? You're going to love this. It's the truth. So if I say right now, this guy's, we'll pick anybody. Hey, Susan, also good to see you. We say Johnny Scoville is X, Y, and Z. And I just trash him. I come out and I say all this stuff. if he sues me for defamation and I can go into court and go, oh no, he is X, Y, and Z. This is exactly what he did. Everything I said was the truth. Then there is no lawsuit. Compared to Brother Bilal, who is filing this pro se, that means that he does not have an attorney. To get this far in the process of suing the Smiths, which he has done. When Jada didn't say anything for 2 years, he said, screw it, I'll sue you. You know what he wants? He wants discovery. He wants to be able to sit down and ask these people questions on a radio, right? On a recording. He wants to be able to depose Will and Jada Smith. Now, that isn't going to happen if he waits for them to sue. So he sues. And when you file pro se, you're allowed to represent yourself, but you're not allowed to make mistakes as if you didn't go to law school. So to get even the filing processes done properly to get back to get into court in front of a judge is damn near impossible. For that judge to then take a look at it and go, yeah, everything was done right, and then read off your everything that you're bringing to court and go, yeah, I'm going to let this proceed. This is all bad for Will Smith and his wife. And let's go over some of the rumors that we've been hearing about them forever. Well, they're Scientologists, right? We've been hearing that for a really long time. And they started a school, and the school was using the Hubbard learning method or whatever sack of feces that dude came up with. That learning program that L. Ron Hubbard had created was being taught at the school that she was running. She, by all accounts, and certainly according to Brother Bilal, they're Scientologists, both of them are. So whether or not that's the truth, it certainly adds a layer of evil, right, to this, because as most of my audience knows, unless you're brand new here, the Church of Scientology is a cult. It is absolutely vicious with the things that it does to children. And it's going to be a better planet when that religion is absolutely gone. It's just going to be gone. But anyway, I digress. There are some other allegations. Some we know are fact, right? She was boffing her young son's basically best friend in an entanglement. And at first, they both denied that this was that Will had approved of this or knew about it. And then later on, she came out and said, nah, Will knew. She just emasculates this dude at every turn. Now, with the dirt she's got on him, she could. And by the way, this kind of behavior of going and threatening people and doing all of that, well, it's very Scientological, isn't it? It just sort of seems to it seems to be in line with what we know about that cult, right? They're going to fair game his ass. Here's the problem, though. You're going to have to. I hope Brother Bilal's got security, because honestly, anything else going forward, the bold claims that this dude comes out with, if anyone else on planet Earth who was an actor or an actress, they just would have thrown $1 million attorney at this. The book wouldn't have come out. They would have locked this down, unless you can't do that. If he has stuff that can back this up, and he does. The paperwork filed by lawyers where it said this is what Will Smith admitted to, this kind of stuff. If what he has teased is in this book, and he was reading some of it out of the book, but he's got receipts. What do the kids call it? T. I think he's working with T, right? There's a hell of a lot of truth over there, and he's got receipts to back it up. This is going to be a fecal matter show for Will and Jada Smith. So now we start going back and looking at all of the other creepy stuff, right? This is the same thing that happened with Diddy. We find out that this Cassie Ventura lawsuit is going, and we start going back and looking at him on talk shows. Well, Will Smith used to like to try to stick his tongue down his son's throat on talk shows. I mean, you can find him on 5 or 6 different talk shows where he just thinks it's really funny to try to mouth kiss his son. And I don't know. I wouldn't want my dad doing that to me alone. It just seems kind of creepy, especially if it's an against the will kind of thing. The guy's trying to crawl away from it. It's just disturbing to beat shit, right? Allegations of the fact that he has had some inappropriate relations with his kid. Again, this was a Jaguar Wright thing that she leaked a long time ago, but she said that there is a tape out there that has Justin Bieber and Jada Pinkett. I mean, not Jada. What's the kid's name? Anyway, the son of Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. Jaden. Thank you. Jaden. So allegedly, Jaden and Justin Bieber, along with Will Smith, there was just a freak off of sorts that went on with these people there, and that there's some kind of a tape on this. Christy says, Gene Deal released books and he hasn't been successfully sued yet. Well, this is going to be a problem for the Smiths. If everything that was being said was BS, it doesn't get this far, people. It doesn't. There are reasons you don't sue somebody for defamation. If the person has absolutely, Brazil, good to have you here. If the person has absolutely no money and you're not gonna get anything back, then maybe you don't sue. If it's going to cost you $40,000 or $50,000, or it's going to cost you $1 million, depending on who you are, to fight this, it's just not worth the effort. Here's the problem with that scenario, though. They're not worried about money in any way, shape, or form at all. And what they're doing is, they sometimes call it the Streisand effect, right? And what they say is, if you just don't go out, because if you go out and you start talking about it, you'll actually create more of a story. It'll sell more of his books. They had 2 years to try to shut this dude down from saying the things that he was saying. And he never backed off any of it. He's never said, I exaggerated this or anything else. He said, here it is, man. And if you worked for somebody in Hollywood as an assistant, especially somebody that, I'm sorry, lives on the DL, right? You know what that is? Lives on the down low. This is a guy that has relationships with men. I don't think that anybody, any real deep thinker out there thinks that that's not the truth. There's just way too much smoke around that, including his first ex. There's a lot that has come out. One moment. That may have been the loudest sneeze in history, and I barely got that thing muted. I'm so happy that happened. Ashley G, good to see you. I don't care that he has relationships with men either. If one of those men is his kid, that's probably a bit of a problem. If any of the relationships that he has are with people that don't want a relationship, that's also a problem. And one of the other things is, it's very much Diddy-like. It's 2025. If people come out and say, hey, man, there's a lot of talk about you being gay or bisexual. It's 2025. It's not 1950. I don't think it would really massively damage Will Smith's career if he went, yeah, I am. I think that, there are enough gay artists that are killing it. But this is also a guy that did rap music and didn't curse in it. He has a very wholesome image that he tries to, hello, Vanessa, that he tries to put out to the world. And I get that, right? This is going to be ugly. And by the way, we've barely scratched the surface of the rumors that continue to come out about this guy. Allegedly, there were relations with Meek Mills that may not have been completely consensual as well. But the Taz, or Yaz rather, this would be Bashir Gray. Bashir Gray's life went to absolute crap after the mentorship. He got married. No one knew he did. He ended up choking that woman, getting a domestic violence charge, barricading himself in his house for a little while. It was really one of those, Hold on one second. Wow, Odin, that is really out there, man. He faked his death to inbreed his daughter in Elon's bunker. When I read it the first time, I thought, well, good God, somebody with a wrench hit Odin. Sorry, bud. You're just that's just a pinch over the top. And you know what? It's to just say stuff that comes out your mouth that you don't. If there's nothing to back something up, maybe you don't say it. And that would be Diddy, that would be Will Smith, that would be anything. But Kobe Bryant faking his own death so that he could breed with his daughter in Elon's bunker, you're really going to have to work on that, selling me on that. That is just, but the Will Smith, good Lord, and Jada Pinkett Smith thing, this isn't so hard to sell anyone on, because Brother Bilal was there. There was paperwork filed. And this poor young man who was a up-and-coming rising star that his mother basically gave permission for mentorship with Will Smith to help working on his acting and Sean Diddy Combs to work on music. And again, according to Brother Bilal, Bashir Gray broke down and said, he was raped by Will Smith, that he was forced to perform mouth hugs on Charlie Mack, who was a manager of his, as well as on Diddy. Now, his life went to complete and utter shit after that. He is no longer a rising star. He has had many brushes with the law. He's been partying. His booking photos are horrible because he was a very, very attractive young man in really good physical shape. And he seems to really have gone through a metamorphosis that doesn't look particularly healthy. He's also become a gay porn star, and not in the sense of the word that he's doing films and getting paid. He's just like advertising this on Twitter and that kind of stuff, and then selling it on one of the streaming platforms. OnlyFans or any of that. You're right. Being freaky is not illegal if both parties or all parties are getting jiggy with it. Yeah, I agree with you. That's absolutely a fact. If, however, they're not into it, then that's a problem. And there's a little bit of smoke here. And I think the real smoke isn't just what Brother Bilal is saying. It's that even after shooting your mouth off and saying we're about to sue him, they've chosen not to take any legal action. I assure you it's because they're not working with a lack of money. That what they're afraid of is if they do this, they're going to have to sit down in a deposition, and they're going to pull out paperwork that Will Smith signed. And they're going to say, when you were signing this and you said that you were with Brashear Gray in a consensual relationship and you were performing a sex act on him, which apparently must have been painful because he said, no, you got to stop. And he continued until he finished before he stopped. Allegedly, this is what Brother Bilal says is in the paperwork that he can back up. Most actors would have come down on him with $15 million worth of attorneys to get this shit tied up in court for as long as humanly possible, or excuse me, or to make it an attrition of cash, where even with just filing motions, Brother Bilal probably couldn't stick with it, especially for a guy who's filing pro se. He doesn't have an attorney. He's doing this all on his own. He has to do the research. He has to do all that. You're not going to just roll in there with some kick-ass attorneys. Seems very odd to me to not sue him before that had a chance to happen. Now, even with high-paid mouthpieces, this thing is progressing forward. And if Brother Bilal gets to sit in there and do depositions, keep in mind, if you're representing yourself, the questions you're asking is not a representation of you asking questions. It's literally your memory asking Will things and knowing what to pivot on. And allegedly, he's been around Jada Pinkett Smith just as long. But all of these new, you're going to hear a lot of really weird clips. One of the clips you're going to hear, and you can then get a complete and utter contradiction for it, from her memoir. She wrote a book a few years back. This would be Jada Pinkett Smith. Actually, it may have been a year ago. But anyway, you shake it. She wrote a book, and in there she talked about doing hallucinogenics with her kids. Apparently, when Jaden was just a teenager, he could get some ayahuasca from the kids he was hanging out with and partying. This is a mind-bending drug from South America that is a dissociative drug. It makes you trip, right? So sort of like mushrooms or like acid. Really strong drug, man, like acid or mescaline or any of those dissociative drugs that literally you trip. But this is kind of the top of the food chain. It's DMT is a derivative of the same family. This is a really, really rowdy hallucinogenic, and not one you usually get from a street dealer, right? It's a very odd substance. It's not like everywhere in America you could just go score you some ayahuasca. It is a very, it's a rare substance, north of South America. It's just but doesn't mean you couldn't get it. I think a 15-year-old kid, I don't care where he's going to school, would have had a harder time getting it. But see, Jaden went on a talk show and said the exact opposite. He said, no, my mother introduced hallucinogenics to us when we were in school. I don't care if you want to trip. Honest to God, my beef usually isn't with drugs or getting high. It's with addiction. And there aren't a lot of people getting addicted to dissociative drugs because of how they work in the body. You can't do them every day. It's just it's an impossibility. You're getting high on your own brain chemicals, but they're releasing so many of them at once that if you try to go back and get more the next day, they just haven't rebuilt the stores. And if you try to do it 4 days in a row, you have to keep upping that dose of whatever hallucinogenic you're taking to levels that are just insane, right? It's a very difficult thing to continue to make happen, and people don't get addicted to it. But giving it to a child is a pretty disturbing thing. And there's a lot of other really disturbing shit that just keeps coming out about this family. And it's going to be fascinating going forward. I did mescaline back in the day. Can't spell it. No, but we knew what you were talking about. It's a hallucinogenic that comes from the mezcal, right? Mescaline. You're on your way to work, Jen. Well, I hope we help you get through a little of it. This is just, none of the kids should have been doing that kind of stuff in high school. And I'm not trying to sit here and be judgy, but for the love of God, you know what I mean? This isn't usually a substance. Any of those, I don't think, are recommended for people whose brain chemistry hasn't even figured itself out yet, right? We all have to sort of work on growing up and becoming who we are. In the high school years are the toughest. And they're the toughest because your brain literally just hasn't sort of worked out all the kinks. Right, you still got rogue elements inside there that kind of got to get whipped into shape. And the idea of handing that stuff off to kids, and then in her book, she comes out with this BS where she's like, "No, it's a fantastic thing if you do it." Nothing stronger than reefer is not such a bad idea, honestly. Kratom is a bad drug. It works on the mu receptor. That's the same receptor that heroin works on. People get addicted to kratom badly. It happens to a lot of people. That isn't my idea of good parenting. Mine either. And by the way, if your kid's in the 20s and you're in your 30s and the two of you want to do a trip together or whatever, that's just fine and dandy. But I don't think you do it to people who aren't above the age of consent, right? Kids are going to decide to take that stuff because you're their parents. And that's not like smoking a joint. That's a pretty heavy commitment. There are people that can get some really odd stuff in their dome while tripping and sort of carry that for the rest of their life. I've seen it happen. And it's, I just think it's dangerous. And in her book, she said in therapeutic conditions, having a doctor there to work through, then it can be a spiritually guided thing. Well, that sure as shit wasn't what her kid was describing at all. Well, it's a decent question. I mean, it's not something that was going to probably put him away for a long time, as sad as that is. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I don't think they would get child abuse. They might, but you'll get with the kind of cash they got. You can say that that's a religious ceremony and that your particular brand of religion condones this, because that kind of protection is pretty damn massive, as sad as it is. But it should be illegal. That's why in her book, she said she got it from her kid. I promise you. The kid didn't say that. He said that his mom had been super into hallucinogens her entire life, and she introduced them to the whole family. And at the time, he was still underage, which definitely would have made his, I think his sister is a little sister, if I'm not mistaken. But both were underage. Yeah, maybe wait until their brain is done developing, says Cricket. Yeah, I mean, does that seem like a stretch? Does that seem like a bad idea? But this isn't a normal family. Let's back up a little more. So Jaden takes off out of the house at 15. Right? You got a palace to live in. Your parents got all the money in the world, and you're like, I'm out. What was going on in that house that makes a 15-year-old boy run away from a gazillion dollars and fame and fortune and all that crap? For real. A Nepo baby that goes, I got to get out of here. That's not typical. But if you listen to some of the theories that came out, and I'll tell you something, before you go, Jaguar Wright. Jaguar Wright was the first person to talk about Bashir Gray rushing out of that house. And now Brother Bilal is backing up exactly what she said. She also said Meek Mills went running out of that house. That anybody that showed up there for that kind of, what's the word they use? Mentorship, right? It's mentorship and, bending over the couch. Over state lines, isn't that FBI supplying minors trafficking? Absolutely. If he's going across state lines. Now, according to Brother Bilal, there was a lawsuit that was coming from Bashir Gray for $50 million against Will Smith. And we don't know what stopped that. We don't know exactly what stopped that. So here's what's going on, my friend. His longtime business associate and manager of sorts and personal assistant of sorts throughout the course of his life, 30 some odd years, apparently these two have known each other. His name is Bilal Salam. He goes by Brother Bilal. Brother Bilal is dropping a book. It's coming out in about 7 days, and it has got bombshells. And they're not just wild accusations. They're accusations with some paperwork to prove what the hell he is saying happened. This is going to be rich folk have the weirdest sex. Boy, there's something to that. There really is. And what's sad to me is I'm not sure that it's about sex. Again, I don't care if a person decides to be gay, straight, bi, whatever. It's got nothing to do with me. But I think that, like in the case of Sean Combs, right, and the things he is alleged of, which of course he still denies, or Will Smith and the things he is being alleged that happened, I think there's a power dynamic that's more important than the sex dynamic. I think getting a guy who is like, thinks he's the, he walks in like the world's biggest, toughest rapper, and to get that dude on his knees for you it's a power thing. It's not a sexual thing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It just seems that they're the Fresh Princess. It just seems that there's an awful lot of degradation. It looks like they're trying to degrade men. We heard Dave Chappelle talk about, they're going to make you wear a dress. Why? I don't know, but he says all of them had to. Debbie, Jaguar Wright still puts up content on her own channel. I think it's called the Jaguar Wright Experience. If I'm wrong, it's something like that. The Jaguar Wright Show, something. But she is still around, to be sure. This is a situation where this book is going to come out. And the first time that we heard of Brother Bilal, my friend, was when he went on Tasha K and told the story of looking for Will on the radio and the cell phone. He was filming, and he found them in the dressing room, bent over a couch with Dwayne Martin, who he's known also for a very long time, up the tailpipe, so to speak. And he was very graphic in what he said, and it went viral. Within 9 hours, they said that didn't happen. And then within about a day, when somebody else brought it up while being filmed, Jada Pinkett Smith said, yeah, that's absolute lies. And he's about to get sued. And he came out instantly and said, bring it. Sue me. Sue me. Let's go into court and tell the story. Let's do some discovery. Let's do all that. Sue me. And he said, I'll give you 2 years. You don't sue me, I'm going to sue you. And he did. This just dropped in December. There's a lawsuit. Now, there's another lawsuit currently that's dropping too from a guy that was on America's Got Talent. He's a young black guy that plays the fiddle, the violin. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to find the guy's name. It's Ben something or other. Yeah, I can't find it. Someone will throw it up there for me, though. But this dude is suing because he says he got fired after complaining about a sexually hostile work environment. It's a weird lawsuit, man. I'm not going to, I don't run with anything anymore just because it's fun. It's a really weird lawsuit. He apparently didn't get touched, and it doesn't even sound like Will was necessarily pushing up on him or anything else. But this all stems from an incident where something was put in his hotel room, and there was a note in there that was signed, and it was signed with a sobriquet that is often used apparently by Will Smith. And whatever the case may be, he's suing because when he said, this makes me nervous or whatever, they fired him. And that's going to be that kind of law. You're probably going to get him. I mean, but all of these things start chipping away at an image that he's been putting out for a long time. He was the rapper that didn't curse. He was the sort of the wholesome, kind of a thing. And I am beyond completely convinced that Hollywood is satanic. Now, whether or not you want to take that to mean that they're sacrificing and doing all that stuff, or to just mean that the level of evil that exists in that town rivals Sodom and Gomorrah. Fucking makes Sodom and Gomorrah look like South Boston. There's been so many people that have made statements about Will Smith. And this one, though, is huge. Why aren't you suing him? Sue this dude, stop the book from coming out, get an injunction on that. If what he's saying is a lie and you already came out and said it was, okay, step up to the plate. You got all the money in the world, right? They're not hurting. I promise you, the Smiths, they got to run a budget, but I'm sure that they're not out of money at the end of the month. They could hire any attorney in the U.S. They could have. And it probably would have been a really good idea if everything that Brother Bilal is saying is bullshit, shut it down. But in the days of the internet, I mean, people are going to buy that book. A lot of people are going to buy that book. And this is just, this is a shit show. And it's not just for the Smith family, but it's also for Hollywood. You know, we got to get to a point where we realize just how friggin' evil that place is. How much of this taking advantage of children, doing whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want. The guy who was in the hospital today with pneumonia, coincidence? Boy, that pneumonia. A lot of people who are in those circles tend to end up with pneumonia. Diddy's camp, though, I don't know how effective they're going to be at too much these days. That man is running out of money and running out of money fast. He really is. Well, this is the greatest question, right? Tommy, any idea how Will got away with assault on Chris Rock? Yeah, here's the deal on this. And this is why Hollywood is the scum fountain that it is. So if you're in the protected class, they protect you. It's that simple. Crazy things happen. Lawsuits get settled. You know, you get a DWI and you T-bone a car. They put you in rehab. 30 days later, you're out. All's forgiven. Hollywood protects people in a very, very huge way. And the truth of the matter is they protected him right through that slap. When he walked up on stage and slapped that dude, you know, and Jada Pinkett Smith was quoted as saying, you know what shocked her more than anything? Neither of them had referred to each other as husband and wife for so long that when he yelled, "Keep my wife's name out your mother-loving mouth," or whatever it was, that's what she was shocked by. The fact that Hollywood let that happen. Can you imagine if I smacked somebody at a Hollywood party? For real. If I just walked up and, you know, to Chris Rock and was like, "Hey, I don't like that joke you just did," and smacked him in the head, I'd be doing 5 years. I promise you I would. And he did it in front of the entire world on film and nothing happened. But I think he's running out of, and I said this about Diddy when the trial was happening. Diddy shot somebody in the face and got away, right? It was like everything, the guy was protected and he just kept dodging bullet after bullet after bullet. And then you piss off the wrong person or you just get in trouble one too many times or whatever it is. But then it just seems to fall apart at the seams. And all the protection you had your entire life is now gone. And that to me really looked like that with Diddy. And it was right after he decided to sue Diageo. Ticker sign DEO. This company's a monster. I mean, this company has so much money, it's horrifying. It's a distribution brand for liquors, you know, spirits. Just a monster. There are countries that don't make as much money annually as Diageo did. And it just seems like it gets to a point now where it's like the floodgates open. And I have a feeling we're going to see this in the very near future with Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. I think that this year is probably going to be Will's year in a way like Diddy's was. Now, maybe I'm way off base, but you're not going to convince me that there is a strategic move to not suing Brother Bilal and keeping his mouth shut. If what he was saying was bullshit, then it's, you know, people say it's really hard to prove defamation. If they sued him for defamation and he could not bring one receipt to anything that he said, he'd be in a load of trouble. They may not make any money off of it, but they would be able to shut him down from publishing, from doing anything else. And if he didn't, it could elevate the stuff to to something a lot more likely to put you in jail. You start violating court orders and they lose their sense of humor about that really quickly. Yeah, when he slapped Chris Rock in the face, that was one of the most disturbing things, honestly. The first time I saw it, I thought, is that a setup? And then you go back and you start watching it slowly. It definitely was not a setup. Dub Airs, good to have you here, Lorlu. Alex Moore, glad you're here. But somebody put up a question that said, was he at freak offs with Diddy? Allegedly. Yeah, he was. I used to work for Diageo when they were in the process of buying Seagrams. They're a beast. They are a beast. The amount of money they own in other companies, other companies, they own tons of stock in a lot of other big companies. They're just a monster. When they lost, when Diddy sued them and they decided to settle out of court, that was paid $200 million. They didn't do it in stock. They didn't do it. They just said, give me the account number. We'll wire $200 million over to you. they're monsters. They're an absolute monster of a company. Wendy R says that slap made me mad. Well, you know what? It made everybody mad. But see, Will was this untouchable star. He really was. They could sell him to anybody. These people are absolute scumbags. Hollywood doesn't care about anything other than the bottom dollar, right? And let's be really honest. I'll get some hate mail for this, and I don't care because I don't read it. I don't even have mail. No, but here's the deal for real. He could jump genres. He could appeal to people that liked rap music, but he didn't curse, so that you could put it in a Christian house. That's that Will Smith guy. He's wholesome as hell, right? You could put him in a movie theater, and he could sell to blacks, whites, old, young. He is just charismatic to beat hell. He's a very good actor. The Men in Black franchise, he was fantastic in those, man. I can watch those movies every day. Yeah, again, and I don't think there's any problem with any of this. At this point, we all know the Smiths are bisexual swingers. That would explain all the gay legal sex. No question. The problem becomes if there was anything that was done to somebody that was underage, if there was anything done to a family member, and if there was anything that was done with people saying no, right? Lack of consent. And allegedly, a bunch of people have seemed to have some receipts that prove that this guy's a predator. But we're going to find out. I mean, I'm just sticking with this, man. If the Smith family thought that anything that Brother Bilal was saying was bullshit, then they would have sued him. The only reason you don't is because you do not want to end up in court having to do a deposition and having the entire world listen to stuff that you do not want to admit to. Enemy of the State was a great movie. Did Trump say he's not going to pardon Diddy? He sure did. He said it in a New York Times interview. Did a show on it yesterday, maybe the day before. But yes, absolutely. He came out and said no, he's not getting a pardon. And I hate to say I told you so, but he didn't mention the case or anything about it. He said he's not getting a pardon because he didn't say very nice things about me when I was running for office. Guy keeps a grudge, I'm telling you. He was amazing in Independence Day. He was absolutely amazing in Independence Day. I saw Independence Day when I was in Houston, Texas, and they show the road sign like getting onto to I-45, and it was 20 minutes, 15 minutes from where we were in the theater, and everybody started to cheer, and then they blew it up. They nuked Houston. Yeah, it was a great film. And here's the thing: I don't think you have to say I can't like this franchise anymore. I can't watch Men in Black. I can't watch any of that. The guy's a predator. The character's not a predator, right? That's just a piece of art. In 40, 50 years, he's going to be dead. No one's going to know who he is, but they'll still be showing that late night on Saturdays, and people will be watching it and not giving a crap, right? It's Ed Rooney. Every time somebody brings this stuff up, I'm not going to not watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I catch that at least once a year on general principle. The fact that Ed Rooney was a piece of shit, I love the character. The guy that played him, probably not all that good a dude. But the character, the character survives on its own. So, you know what? We got to do this to critical thinking. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but for the love of God, do you believe that? Because when you put this to critical thinking, here's the thing. If you're the president of the United States, you can't take a gift of a wristwatch. Everything that gets gifted to the president has to go into a museum. All of their finances are looked at by the entire planet. How are they going to give this dude money? They're certainly not going to do it while he's in office. And I promise you, once you get past the billion mark, Trump's not shooting for 100 billion. Elon Musk is, right? He wants that trillion rather. But this doesn't pass the smell test. How much money do you think Diddy would have to give Trump for him to F up his legacy? Because he doesn't care about anything else. He compares himself to George Washington. He says he may be the best president that ever lived. And he kind of wants it written like that in the history books. This would be an asterisk, like a guy that used performance-enhancing drugs that hit 200 home runs, right? There's going to be an asterisk next to it that says, by the way, he released who may have been the nastiest predator America had seen in 50 years. There is no amount of money that would get that dude to to have that added to his resume, to have that be a big section in the Trump presidential library, which he no doubt will start working on 8 minutes after he's left office, right? It just doesn't pass the smell test, man. It just doesn't. And people don't believe this. The guy took a pay cut to become the president. He had to shut down all of the hotels that you can't do business with anybody in Washington because you own a hotel there. I mean, his daughter lost a brand. Going into politics wasn't a real cash maker for this fool. I promise you. And once you're the president, you're not setting up an offshore account, right? The amount of effort it takes to get away with something. You know what? See, this is so who is he selling them to? Help me out with this. Who's he selling them to? And the favors, the favors and the pardons. Come back, send me a correspondence and let me know. I'll run with stories of it. Tell me who he's selling it to and how you got proof, and I will research the dog shit out of that. But when I try to do that, I can't come up with anything. I can't. I'd run with that story. I'd be all over that crap, man. I would be all over that crap. That's a great story, right? That's a fantastic story. And every president does on the way out the door to some degree do this. Clinton probably worse than anybody, but everybody does it. Everybody. And they pardon people that you'll go, wait, what? Like people that shot cops and some really incredible stuff, depending on who's in office. But it is within their purview. Doesn't happen a lot midstream. They do it on the way out of the second term because they don't give a crap as much, but those things do follow you. They absolutely do follow you. But yeah, I'm not finding anything on him selling anything. They can never drive a car again. Do you know this? The amount of scrutiny any president has to endure is beyond imagination. They can barely use the restroom without being reported. They can never drive a car again. They will have a full detail from the Secret Service for the rest of their life. And wouldn't that be fun around the house? Hey, good morning, Ted. Bob, how you doing? He's got some people hanging out to protect you until you die. There's not enough money on earth to have me want that kind of a job. I mean, it may be as exciting as shit, but when it's over, so's your life. That's why you see these guys that go out to ranches and never leave. It's like, flying around the country with Secret Service and all of the crap that entails, and the number of people that hate you in airports and spit at you. Yeah, well, I don't think that anybody that, and this bums people out, but we haven't had a president that isn't a psychopath probably since the first one. And I don't mean sexual psychopath or, sadistic psychopath. I just mean someone that truthfully feels like they're the entire center of the universe and that there is nobody better to run the free world than them. That takes a special kind of individual, man. Yeah, you make a good point. Most presidents are too old to drive anyway. Even if you do have a really sweet Mustang. I'm sorry, it was a Corvette, wasn't it? Joe Biden had a really nice Corvette. Apparently had some files stacked up against it. Here's my wish. You know what? Here's the thing. Here's my dream. You want to hear my dream for real? Here's my dream. When we go 2 elections in a row where we say, I'm not voting for anybody that's ever been in office. What's your political party? I don't have one, right? It's the no incumbent party. That's it. Not voting for anybody that has ever held an office anywhere. I don't care if you were a dog catcher. You don't get a vote. Let's start from scratch. It worked once before, right? Let's get plumbers and doctors and teachers, right? Guys that mow lawns. Let's get some normal people to run for president, right? And run for every other office. Because let's be really honest. What we have now are people who are politicians, right? What the hell does that mean? You're a politician. So what you do for a living is you write bills, right? So that laws can get passed. But you don't necessarily write them because there are lobbyists that will show up and give you $1 million to put in your political action committee fund for your next time you're running for office. And then maybe they'll slide you a couple of other gifts that are harder to trace, right? And then they're going to hand you a bill and say, you wrote this, take it to Congress. Gotcha. I'm on this. We have sold off the entire political system in the United States. And I think it probably happens to any country that's civilized for too long. What happens when you've written enough laws? No shit. How do you have to keep coming up with laws? For real. If I said to you, well, they're across the country altogether, there might be 30,000 new laws or something like that. Okay. If I said to you, I'm going to give you $100,000 if you can come up with 10,000 laws, and I'll give you 24 hours to do it. I mean, it seems like there's way too many laws. But in order to have politicians, you have to keep writing laws, right? It's what you have to do. It's your job. If you don't do that, then why do we need you? Why would we buy that book about Will Smith if you can read it for us and tell us what it said? Oh, that's great, Rue. And I probably will. Well, that's a solid piece of advice right there. And Rue, thank you for the support as well. That's funny as hell, Rue. I've never voted somebody for their genitals or color. It's probably a great way to live. Even the lawnmower man will be corrupted. Yeah, by the second or third time that he gets elected. But when they first get up there, you got to get rid of the lobbyists. They got to go. Are you kidding me? And the earmark. You understand this is a concept? I write a bill. The bill is for a new long-range nuclear bomber. Right? This thing can reach places faster than anybody else. It's the ultimate war machine. And I put it up there, and the bill is it costs $5 billion to build this thing. But I need to get X number of votes, and my colleague from New Jersey doesn't want to vote. So I call him and say, "Hey, man, I really need this vote." He says, "Okay, but I got a program I'm trying to do for kids in the city. I need you to earmark on the bottom of that bill $25 million for New Jersey so I can do this, this, and this." So by the time this thing's passed, there are so many amendments and stuff that are put on the bottom of these little stupid ass additions to the bill that now the $5 billion bill is up to like $60 billion. And somebody puts down on there, right? Money for crippled children whose parents can't afford to take care of them so that we can make sure they have housing and food. And you go, well, holy shit, obviously I want to vote for that. I just don't want that long range bomber that can kill anybody. But they put that in there for no other reason so that at the next election cycle, they can go, Tommy Scoville voted against giving money to crippled children who don't have parents who will take care of them. And I did, didn't I? I just didn't want that friggin' bomber. But you see, all of this just becomes this, it's optics. People will say all the time, especially when I used to talk about stuff like this, and I don't anymore because half of you are going to hate me, right? And by the way, I used to get emails that said, I knew you were a lefty. I knew you were a lefty. And 2 days later, I'd get one that says, man, I knew you were a MAGA dude. I don't really kind of go down the middle, right? There are things that both parties, I am way more socially liberal than any conservative you'll ever meet. But fiscally, I am not at all liberal in any way. There are certain things that just make sense to me. And I don't know. If I keep talking about them, some of you will hate me. My go-to on American politics is Legally Blonde. Not bad. Not bad. Mr. Smith Goes to Congress. Be a good one to watch, too. Nothing wrong with that one. Deadhead, I'm glad that you're here. I really am. I'm glad you're here. All right, people, I'm going to wrap this up. I have a ton of research I got to do before tonight's show. And I was up late because of that rotten white fur ball. I shouldn't say I was up late. I was up really early. Two wings on the same pigeon. You're right, man. Right wing, left wing, still attached to the same bird. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor. Be kind to one another, regardless of who anyone voted for. Just seems like a really good idea. All right. I'm Tommy. I will see you on the next one. Have a great night, everybody, or a great day, everybody. See you tonight. God bless.